Hey, Mistral and I are back today to talk about manifestation. This is a topic we both love, and we love
Strahl and
applying
I
it
are back
to human
today
design.
to
So, in your
talk
human
about
design chart, will
manifestation.
tell you
This is a
how
topic
you
we both love and
manifest. So,
we
if you've been
love
having a
applying
lot of
it
trouble
to human design. So
manifesting,
in your human
making
design chart,
things
we'll
come
tell
to
you how
fruition, to
you
create those miracles in
manifest.
your
So if
life,
you've been having a
your human
lot of
design
trouble
can really help you
manifesting,
see where you
making
might be
things
missing.
come
And of
to
course, tomorrow
fruition, to
starts
create
Planning
those
by Design.
miracles in
So
your
if you are a
life,
female
your human
entrepreneur
design can
and you
really
would like
help you
help
see
goal
where you might
planning
be
and with
missing. And of
accountability,
course, tomorrow
make
starts
sure
Planning
to
by Design.
message
So
us
if
or
you're a
drop in the
female
comments
entrepreneur and
Planning
you
by
would like
Design,
help
and we'll make sure
goal
to get you
planning
that link to
and with
join our monthly
accountability, make
membership.
sure
So,
to
Mistral will be
message
joining
me.
us so that we can chat about your human design chart. So, it's in the arrows. So, make sure to grab your chart. The arrows are there. But first, let's talk about manifestation.
Yay! Manifestation. This is such a hot topic for so many people. I mean, who does not want to manifest more things into their life? And I feel like there's been periods of time where we've all felt very connected to manifesting. And then there's periods of time when we are just not connected to it at all. And that's what we're here today to help you figure out how you can get back into the manifestation again using our human design charts.
Yeah.
So, oh, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just reading the comments. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, if you have a human design book, can be super helpful. But what we found through all of our work through teaching is that it's really hard to find information on the arrows. What do they really mean? And even when you find out what they mean, it's also like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
So, looking at the arrows, which the information in the arrows comes from information within your body graph. So, it kind of says it a different way. So, yes, it's so helpful to know about the centers and the vibrations and the frequency and the energy, but the arrows are kind of like summing it up in a different way.
That's right. Yeah. And I think what's so beautiful is the human design chart goes into so much detail and so much depth about who we are and our energetic blueprint and how we sort of show up in our lives. But one thing that really helped me at least sort of snap everything together was the fact that all of my arrows, so we're talking about these arrows, they're on the body graph, they're like next to your head, right? There's four of them, and two of them are in the conscious and two of them are in the unconscious. And all of my four arrows point to the right, which means I'm always, or I should be operating in my feminine energy, right? Arrows pointing to the right is feminine energy. Arrows pointing to the left is masculine energy. Now, surface level, we all know that we all have both masculine and feminine energy within our systems, and we utilize both, right, at different times to get things done, to be in receiving mode, to be more structured, to flow more, right? So each one has different sort of properties or energies associated with it. And there's different ways that we show up. But like I said, what snapped it all into place for me was understanding that, oh my gosh, all my arrows point to the right, which means I'm meant to be in my feminine flow the majority of the time. And when I am in my masculine, which is what society often tells women to show up in as their masculine, especially if you're in corporate, that's when I felt all of this dissatisfaction and frustration and not feeling like I was going anywhere because I wasn't living in my alignment. And so that's really what snapped it into was just understanding, oh, feminine energy. No wonder why I love to be in flow, right? And I know you can comment a little bit to this too, Jen.
Yeah, three out of my four arrows are left facing. So it was really a relief once I got into human design to see, oh, I need to be strategic. I love planning. I'm really detail oriented, and that reflected in my arrows. So it was really nice because so many times I had tried to be in flow. And this is not to say like I certainly can be more feminine. I can be in alignment in more ways when I am in flow. But it was a relief to say, okay, like I'm still strategic. Let's get to the point. Like just do the damn thing. Is kind of how I need to do things. So I loved being able to see that in my arrows where I need consistency.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's really neat when it comes to manifestation too, with understanding our arrows, and we will be talking about this a little bit more in a little bit more detail. But the other part with that for me is that I was following these very strict, like do your morning routine, then meditate, then do this, then do that, so on and so forth. And I always felt like this isn't working. It feels too structured. Like, why do I have to do it this way? Oh, I must be doing it wrong because it's not working. And it turns out I actually kind of was doing it wrong because my arrows want me to flow. So when I wake up in the morning, I typically will check in with myself. What do I want to do today? Do I want to do that same 20-minute yoga routine or core hit or, whatever it is that I'm doing and then write my journal pages? Or do I want to go for a walk and then meditate? Or do I want to do, whatever I want to do? I need to be able to feel that to understand that that's what's correct for me in that moment. And that was one of the big things for me to realize is that you have to find what works for you, right? If you need the structure and that makes you feel successful throughout the day, do it that way. For me, that feels totally unsuccessful and unsatisfactory for me. And I'm sure you can relate to that with your 3 arrows pointing to the left, that you kind of like routine potentially.
Yep. So I experimented for so many years with my morning routine, right? What do I need to do in the morning to set myself up for success, especially as a projector? I can't just get up and start doing all these things. That doesn't suit my needs. So, yes, I have a routine that I do in the morning, certain things that have to get done so that I feel good. They don't necessarily have to happen in a certain order. I found that that was not helpful for me, but I have my time block in the morning from when I get up until, for me, it's about 9:30, depending on the day. That is me time. And it's during those times that all these things need to happen so that I am set and ready for my day. And that is my digestion arrow pointing left, eating the same way every day. That is my environment arrow pointing left, doing the same things, doing the same things in the same place every day too.
Mm-hmm. And so for me to realize that both of those arrows go to the right, which means that I'm sporadic at eating. Sometimes I might eat 3 meals a day and sometimes I might eat 2 meals a day. And the point of us talking about all this, because people are like, what are we talking about manifestation? We're talking about food. It's understanding your flow, right? It's understanding what do you need in order to be successful in your manifestation, because your arrows actually tell you what kind of manifestor you are. So when people are telling you to do specific things and it's not working, it could be because you're not meant to be specific in that way. And so again, me realizing for environment, my arrows to the right, which means that I sometimes work from the couch. Sometimes I work outside. Sometimes I work upstairs in my bedroom. Sometimes I sit down on the floor and work. It doesn't matter to me where I work. I don't have to have that structure. Although you will always see me here for my lives because that's convenient. But other than that, that's like my only structured piece. And that was really important for me to understand because that allowed me to flow and open up for receiving and also allow myself to really tune into the way I manifest as well. And we're about to dive into that too.
Yeah. And I think before we really dive into the manifestation, right, the arrows show us how to align, right? It's our energy, how we can align with that. And when it comes to manifestation, you're not going to manifest if you're out of alignment. If you are not living within your highest vibration in your future timeline, you're not going to get there. So if you're like, why can't I manifest? Maybe you know all this information already. It may just be law of attraction, right? Like your energy just isn't aligned with what you're wanting to manifest. So of course, there's so many nuances. There's so many different aspects within the chart, for alignment, deconditioning, if you need help with that, I'm here. Business, Mistral has got you covered. And when it comes to manifesting in business, like she's going to set you up for success. So with that being said, anything else before we dive into the manifesting in the arrows?
I think just if you don't have your chart and you have no idea what we're talking about with these arrows, go get it after this. Reach out to us. We're happy to help you. But yeah, let's dive in because this is the exciting part, right? This is talking about how we really truly manifest based on our energetic blueprint. And you can't go wrong when you're doing it right.
Nope.
Literally.
Okay, so with the arrows, we are first going to talk about the bottom right arrow. So when you're looking at your body graph, those arrows on the sides of the head, the arrow on the bottom, on the right side, that conscious side on the bottom. This is the arrow about perspective, how you perceive things around you. But this is also your manifestation arrow. So when it points right, like Mistral's does. You are a non-specific manifestor. That means that you don't have to get super specific. Of course, you want to know what you're manifesting, but it's really about the feels, right? Feel into it, see yourself there, have an idea of what it looks like. And really, that's it. Like, let it be that simple. If you're trying to do more than that, if you're trying to get really specific, that could throw you out of alignment. Because with this arrow, when it does manifest, right? When you are on your divine timeline and that comes into your current reality, it's going to be bigger and better than you could ever imagine. So you don't want to burn energy trying to imagine it, getting really specific, because it's not for you. That is for the specific manifestors like myself. So if that bottom right arrow points left, bottom right side, we got the top and then the bottom one. That's the one we're on now. If that arrow points to the left, you are a specific manifestor. I'm a specific manifestor. So I was doing the non-specific things, right? Really feeling into it, thinking about it, and I wasn't manifesting. It was because I was not getting specific enough. If you have to write out a list of all the specifics, get really, really clear. And then, especially as an emotional authority, I sit with it because I'm going to think of even more specifics that I need to add to it. So when you get really specific, then it's waiting for exactly that. The universe is going to test us, right? It's going to throw things into our reality, our awareness, and we need to check to say, does this specific thing check off everything on my list? Because, right, the universe is testing us. So it says, can this be good enough for you? Can you settle? Are you going to settle for less than what you want? So if it marks like 5 out of 10 things on your list and you go for it, it's probably not going to work out that well in the long run, right? Sure, it'll be great, but it doesn't check all the boxes. It's got to check all the boxes, because if you're like, I want this house and it needs to have these 5 things, and it doesn't have those 5 things, don't worry. There's another house coming for you right down the road that's going to check off all of those things. So the more specific you can be with that left facing arrow, the more those exact things that you're wanting to manifest will come in. Yes, Melanie. So Melanie has, my guess, left arrow, right? You got specific. She is picking up her new Jeep tomorrow noon. She's so excited for it, and she manifested it. I knew this when we were talking about your Jeep. She knew exactly what she wanted for her Jeep, and she said it checks 10 out of 10 boxes. Yes, that is manifestation with that specific piece. And then Bridget manifested unintentionally your entire life. Check your flow. Yeah, my guess is you're right. More manifesting generators tend to be non-specific manifestors.
Yeah.
So when you're in that flow, I hear that all the time. I unintentionally manifested. My biz bestie, my other one, not Mr. All, who's the Manny Jen, she pops ideas and she's like, I want this, and I'm like, well, tell me more about it, right? Just envision it. How does it feel? She tells me, she gets, clear in her way, and the next day she's like, I manifested that. It's so beautiful. So what I just talked about, this bottom right arrow, is about half of the manifesting piece. And I'm so excited for Mistral to talk about this, because this was the piece that I was missing. I learned this from Mistral on our HD Q&A call, which is free, happens every month. Let us know if you want the link to join that. So this arrow is like the other piece to manifesting.
Yes. I just want to quickly say before we switch to that arrow, though, with the non-specific manifestor, it really is the feels. Like, I cannot tell you how I used to get so stuck in like having to list everything out, and I'd be like, but I don't really know what I want it to look like. I don't really know, because I'm not meant to, right? I'm meant to just feel. What does it feel like to have this thing that I desire? What are the feelings around it? And then hold that feeling and go outside and dance, or go for a walk, or do something that like gets you excited, and then bring that feeling back often. Like, that's what I come back to day in and day out, to raise that vibration. That is so, so, so important. It always comes back to discernment, doesn't it?
Right. I was going to say that, Amber, you are spot on, because when it comes to manifesting, it is about discernment, right? Especially with that left facing arrow. Like, is this something that the universe is testing me that's going to put me into the detriment? Especially, like, I would be curious in your chart, like which gates are in the detriment so that you can be aware of that lower vibration. Like, my gate of struggle 28 is in my incarnation cross. It is in my unconscious sun, I'm pretty sure, and it's in the detriment. So I struggle with struggle. So that is part of when I am manifesting, I got to get really specific. And if I fall into the struggle, if I let that detriment consume me and I'm not discerning what is aligned for me, really like honoring my conscious sun and my authority, bitterness, like I just get consumed with bitterness. Yes. So yeah, Amber, gate 28, you know the struggle, so don't let that pull you down, right? Oh, so much to it.
Oh, the struggle is real, literally.
Yes.
It's in our charts. Oh, and if it's in your conscious sun too, yeah, that's
yes. Oh, I'm so glad
something
that
for
was
you
helpful.
to, yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll switch arrows now. So that was the bottom right-hand side. Now we're moving on to the bottom left-hand side. So we're in our unconscious arrow right now. And so this is another piece of manifestation as well that, again, super helped me, and obviously super helped Jen here too, because it's another piece that just helps you understand a little bit more. And I do want to put, and we both want to say this, it's just human design is so complex. And so there are other nuances that do come into this. We're really giving you surface level information. So if you want to dig deeper, you can obviously search things up online, but Jen and I are here as resources for you. So please reach out. But back to this left bottom arrow. So this is like our environment, right? This is where we are. This is where we are best suited, right, in our life, and how we show up in that way in this environment. And so as a right-facing arrow, this is the feminine arrow, right? This is me being a passive manifester. So this is how involved we are in our manifestations. And so one thing that's really important to remember is, as a passive manifester, I do not want to get caught up at all in doing it, right? And actively trying to call it in and doing it all the time. I'm really here just to like set it and then forget it, which is really hard, right? It's really hard, especially if you're in a business or you're trying to manifest something that you really desire or really want. The best way is to literally get those feelings, set those feelings as a core memory, tap into those feelings, especially if you're right. Your bottom right arrow is right facing, and then set it and fret it and just let it go. Because if I'm actively meddling and being like, I want to activate this and I want to activate that and I want to create this, I just meddle with it. It gets in the way of what I'm trying to create. And then it just all goes south really quickly, which is hard because so many people who talk about manifestation tell you to specifically do these action steps towards manifesting, which is actually incorrect for someone like me. And so that's why I would always get stuck, right? So if you're a passive manifestor, so your bottom left arrow pointing to the right, set it and forget it. Don't focus on it, just set it and forget it. Dream about it, think about it before you go to bed, bring that feeling in, and then again, just let it go and do its thing. On the other hand, go ahead.
I want to say the example I gave before of my friend who, tells me these things and then they manifest it the next day. It's because she sets it in the intention. We voice note on Voxer. She's saying it to me. She's putting the feels in there. She's really like embodying that which she wants to manifest. And then she's literally detaching. Like, she is not doing anything. She's literally forgetting it. And then it's not till the next day when she gets the notification of, like, the thousands of dollars that come in, or someone signs on for this or books that she's like, oh my God, I manifested that. And that's why it's bigger and better than you can ever imagine, because you forget about it and then it just comes in. It's so cool.
Right. Well, and that's a really good point that you said there, Jen, too, because sometimes people tell you to detach from the outcome. which is really hard. But if you're an active manifestor, you don't necessarily want to detach from the outcome because that's a part of your manifestation process. And so that's where really understanding your chart and understanding how you manifest is so important. And so someone like myself with that right facing arrow, I do need to detach. But for someone like me who struggles with detachment because you're relying on this manifestation to come in, maybe because it's money to pay bills or rent or buy something that you really desire, whatever, you really have to just focus on the feelings, because the attachment is what creates the meddling, which is what creates the negative feelings. And then when we have that negative feeling in our body, it's almost like then we're just allowing our subconscious to manifest, because we're really just attracting in what we don't want, essentially, then. And so that's why that detachment is so, so key. And so ways I detach is just I do something, I move my body to get back into the feeling and just ignore the rest of it, essentially, which can be really hard. So that's what I do. I move my body, I get a distraction, something that takes me out of the just constantly thinking about it, because that's just me meddling and attracting the wrong thing. But if you're an active manifestor, this is where you do want to focus more on calling it in. So almost like obsessing over it, but not in a desperate way, right? We're not like, if this doesn't come in, we're going to fail, because that's never the truth. It's more about like, you're the one who has the vision board, who has the list of exactly what everything's going to look like. You get excited about it. You might have a mantra that you constantly repeat about it. And then you're just like, yes, 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 this is coming to me. It is coming to me. It is coming to me. That never felt good for me, because I'm not an active manifestor. I'm passive. I'm meant to just trust that the universe will bring it, which it will come. But the active manifestor gets to kind of be really involved in that process and get to be really excited about how their manifestation is going to turn up. And so they almost get to, it's almost like they thrive off of doing the journal prompts or doing the rituals or doing the vision board, right? That's where you're going to be really successful. What do you want to add to that, Jen? Anything?
Yeah, being an active, specific manifestor, right? This active piece was the piece that I was missing. And then when Mistral talked about this, and I was like, oh my God, the active piece is actually like a part-time job. Like, that has become a part of my morning routine, is checking in with what I'm manifesting. What affirmations am I working on? What is my mindset? What frequency am I functioning in? What do I need to raise my vibration to be that? This is something that I have to work on, honestly, like not only every day, but throughout the day. Like, I used to put reminders on my phone to do affirmations, because like I have to work on this. And when I work on this, like, it's so amazing, because it starts to come in and I get to see my life unfold for me. And there's all these little pieces. I'm like, oh my God, I manifested that. Oh my God, I manifested that. And it just starts to keep coming. And it's like a snowball effect, because I'm so clear, I'm so specific, I'm actively doing it. And it's just like piece by piece by piece by piece. So if you are feeling resistant to being the active manifestor, like, you gotta switch that mindset, because it is a job. And let it be light, right? Human design is all about light and playful, and especially law of attraction, right? We gotta function at that higher vibration to call it all in. So play around with, what do you like? I tried writing in the morning. Honestly, I hate it. I hate my undefined throat is like, don't make us write in the morning. Like, it's cool for my thoughts, but to do the work, writing, like especially as a projector, that feels heavy. And I was going into bitterness. So listening to manifestation, listening to frequencies, I'm sorry, visual manifestations, listening to frequencies, moving my body while I'm thinking about these things and talking about these things. Also, getting on calls, and also I love Voxer. So doing that to talk about what I'm manifesting with everyone and anyone, that has been what I find as an active manifestor that helps me find success in manifesting. I feel success while I'm doing it, my self-signature theme. And obviously it gets to play out, and it's just really cool.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. I love all of that. I had something I wanted to add, but then I think you covered it. So I think we're good. I think we've like talked about everything. The one thing I did want to say is just, when when you're manifesting, I think a lot of it has to come, whether we're active or passive or, I'm losing my words right now, active, passive, or non-specific and specific manifestor. It really comes down to being clear, right? Because no matter what, whether you're feeling into the energy or you're writing down your specifics, you need to be clear, right? You need to understand and have clarity around what you actually want to call in. The universe needs to know, right? You can't be unclear with that. So even though, like it sort of says, I'm a non-specific manifestor and things like that, like, yeah, for me, I'm not going to write down that I want like a hot pink Jeep that with 4 seats necessarily. No, because I don't even really know if that's what I want, right? It's more the feeling of what it's going to feel like for me to drive around in my car that doesn't have a roof while I'm down at the beach with my arm hanging out the side, right? That's what I want to, that's how I want to manifest, right? Is calling in that way versus someone else like yourself might be like, okay, well, I definitely want those 4 seats and it's got to be pink and then it's going to have this and it's going to have that and blah, 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 right? And you're really calling those pieces in. And so really getting clear on what you want, but clear written versus clear feelings are kind of a little bit different. So yes, it is really interesting and it kind of can be a little bit nuanced, but when you come back to it with your own discernment, right? And your own, you'll know what feels right. Like as soon as I realized that all my arrows pointed to the right and that I was a non-specific manifestor and that I was a passive manifestor, I was like, oh, this now makes sense. I can fit it in. It feels really good when I do it now. I love to move my body. So it's perfect that I do that when I'm moving my body. I don't necessarily sit down and do meditations anymore because I find that challenging. So I do walking meditations, right? And then it feels good. And when I do those things, like Jen was saying, things start to come in. And then you can start saying things like, I just manifested that. I just manifested this. Look at this coming in. I can see this down the pipeline. And that's what gets really exciting, right? And then celebrating. That's what I want to say. Celebrating. We want to be able to celebrate when we have those successes and we've manifested, because that celebration is that high frequency vibration. And we have to celebrate. Otherwise, we're just like not telling the universe that we're excited.
Yeah. And we definitely like we are co-creating with the universe. So while the universe tests us, like it's still our best friend. But this is where I always like to talk about attachment, because we can't be attached to the outcome, and we certainly cannot be attached to the timing. We are not in control of timing when it comes to manifestation. The
So
universe
frustrating.
does that. It is.
Envy.
Sends me into my bitterness a lot. So the more that we can detach from that, especially with an undefined heart, if you're feeling like, oh, I have to prove this to the universe so that it can happen. Like, no, you have nothing to prove. You don't need to do that. And a question about the top right arrow. So the top right arrow is about your awareness and focus. So while we are not going to get into that today, it can be fun to look at that arrow and see, how does your awareness work? Are you really detail oriented zooming in, or do you need to zoom out? Especially, how this relates to manifestation. It's also about focus, right? Like I'm specific. So well, actually, as I say that, I'm like, that arrow actually points right. So it's helpful for me to zoom out with the awareness there. So yeah, certainly, again, play around with it, see how you relate to it, see what resistance comes up for you when you're working to align with this energy. Especially as a therapist, it's like we work in the resistance, because what are those limiting beliefs? What's holding you back from embracing being a specific or non-specific, being an active or passive, right? I was really resistant when I was like, I have to work at this. Like, no, I don't want another thing to work at. So I really had to like coach myself to be like, wait, I'm manifesting. I do want these things, and this is worth doing whatever I have to do to make it come into fruition. And if I plug away daily at this, and it's going to come, and maybe even sooner, then like I'm going to do this. My authority is giving me the yes. I'm feeling success and not bitterness. I'm in alignment.
Yeah, totally. Right. And I also think too, that when we're out there and we're manifesting and we feel you can tell when you feel the alignment, right? If you're feeling any kind of frustration or anything around your manifestations, it's not coming in, there's a reason, right? And sometimes it goes deeper than just your arrows pointing to the right or the left. And sometimes that comes into our mindset and what we're saying to ourselves and what we're believing and the vibration that we're holding. And so one thing that a coach told me that has just stayed with me for so long is that we're always manifesting. It's just whether we are manifesting from our conscious or from our subconscious. And so if your bank account or your manifestations or whatever it is in your life doesn't look like how you desire it to, there's probably something in your subconscious that is telling you that there's a reason. There's a reason. And so it's diving in and figuring out like what is holding you back, for sure.
Yeah. And just to use Amber's example here as a reason, Amber realized she has gate 38 and not 28. So with gate 38 being the fighter, 28 can be the shadow. So if you are falling into that struggle, that's the shadow vibration. And that is absolutely going to hold you back from being the fighter, especially if that's your conscious sun. And yeah, there is so much to remember with human design. But remember that you don't have to remember, right? That's why we have books, we have resources. You see Mistral and I talking about and looking at our notes here, like, because we do this so much. Yes, we know a lot of it. It's what we love. It's our passion. This is what we do for careers. But we don't have everything memorized in our minds. It can't happen. So, and there's always so much to learn and move on from. So with that being said, if you do want to plan and you do want to put manifesting into your goal setting, right? How you're going to do your month, how it pairs up with your energetic cycles, especially if you have a feminine flow. If you have any reflector qualities in your chart, you need to be working with the moon. So that is why Mistral and I created Planning by Design, which kicks off tomorrow. It's our monthly membership. What more can you say, Mistral?
Well, other than like if you need accountability because you maybe are a manifesting generator or a generator who's all over the place, like this is the place to come and be, right? It's the place to come and we hold you accountable. We set you up for success because we're teaching them the human design and the transits. And we're also talking about our menstrual cycle and how we are really taking advantage of the energy that we have. Like when is the best time to create our sales page? When is the best time to be reaching out to people? When's the best time to be selling, right? We get to start tracking our energetic cycle and actually tap into the flow, whether we have right facing arrows or left facing arrows. We all want to be in flow, right? We want to be embracing what works for us. And that's what we're going to be teaching you in this membership, is really how to embrace exactly your energetic flow so that you can have the most success and create the business and your life and manifest in ways that you haven't been able to before. And that's what we're really excited about.
Yeah, and it's twofold. It's the business and the personal life, because as we know, especially as female entrepreneurs, they can and are one and the same. So all the business pieces, Mistral comes in with her expertise because that's what she does. And I come in with the personal pieces because that is what I do. So we have a Telegram channel. Still working on the lingo there. Telegram channel where I'll be dropping in like human design transits because that affects our energy, the astrological pieces of the transits, as well as the full moon and new moon, because especially if you have reflector qualities, if you are a quantum reflector, a conscious reflector, or an unconscious reflector, like it is huge. So that's where we'll be holding each other accountable as well as our monthly calls. And Amber has a question about manifestation possibility to be led astray by the ego. Yes, that is what I mentioned, the heart, the ego always trying to prove itself. So knowing how that works for you, that's the personal pieces that I'll be bringing in to Planning by Design. So Telegram, it is I think it's called a channel where we'll be dropping tidbits in, and we have that little like container for everyone in the membership outside of the 2 calls a month. So this membership it's $11 a month, like kind of a no-brainer to get this level of support. So comment down below, DM either of us, and we'll give you that link to sign up, especially if you sign up before noon Eastern tomorrow. You'll get to join us for our first call.
Yay, it's so exciting. I'm really excited for this. It's going to really shift a lot of people's perspectives and how they're creating in their business and in their life. And so it's going to be really, really awesome.